she was a rising star, smart, bold, and building her own law firm after walking away from a top firm that didn't align with her values. Diagnosed with ADHD, raised on a Yorkshire farm, dreaming of being a mermaid, Sophie Murgatroyd wasn't afraid to be different. But her biggest battle wasn't in the courtroom. She fell in love with a man who became a monster, beating her so badly her retina shattered, her cheekbone broke, and he stabbed her in the stomach while she carried their unborn child. How does someone survive that kind of trauma and come back stronger? For the first time ever, Sophie shares her story of pain, survival, and learning to love again. Sophie Murgatroyd. So, what's your story?
Sophie hasn't told her story in full because she's taken deep therapy, deep love and compassion from those around her for over nearly 5 years now. I think it's around 5 years. So this is an exclusive on So What's Your Story today. I am so blessed, so honoured to have you with me. You're an amazing person, and I'm so glad that we met when we did. And
me too.
Where should we start? I think I want to start
from the top.
Yeah, I want to go.
Very
I want to
beginning.
go. Oh yeah, why not? I want to go from. So is it fair? Was it farmer's daughter? Is that?
I am a farmer's daughter. Yeah, I've got an older sister, an older brother, and a younger brother.
Wow.
And we grew up on a farm in Harrogate in the Yorkshire Dales.
Wow.
And it was utterly blessed to have had that upbringing.
Yeah.
It was idyllic. It was a beef and lamb farm in
it?
the Yorkshire Dales.
So occasionally you got bits of straw in your hair. You got
I would
mud under your nails. You know,
always fall asleep in my horse's stable, and my dad would carry me to bed.
Oh no!
And I'd wake up with straw in my bed and wonder where did that come from. I would always have a pet of some kind that I'd found along the way. So I'd always be coming home with owls that had a hurt wing, or I brought a baby deer home once.
Wow.
Dad didn't like that.
A baby deer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go put it back.
I mean, just listen to that sentence for a minute. You know, I bought a baby deer. I mean, how on earth do you do that? So look, I mean, so animals, the nature, supportive family.
Such a big part of my life.
Massive part of your life, but it's kept you grounded as well. And this piece we're going to weave in here about your specialism in defending cases that are equine-based, horse-based. It seems
That's
almost...
where it began.
It seems it was almost a natural evolution to get there eventually.
It was. Animals were always a part of my life, especially horses. So I think I could ride before I could walk.
Wow.
My granddad is a Ukrainian Cossack. So horses were just always there.
Wow.
And always have been. And actually, as I've got older, I've realised that horses were actually my safe place, my release.
Oh, wow.
So they were more than just a pet. They always have been. But as I grew older and as I started my career in the law, I would go to horse shows or horse events, and I'd hear all kinds of disputes being talked about, and nobody knew what sort of lawyer they needed. Or if they did, if they went to, say, their insurance firm, they wouldn't know the head from a tail. And I remember thinking...
There's a pun there.
I remember thinking, there's something in this that, like, I'm here, I speak your language, disputes is what I do.
Yeah.
This needs to be addressed. And so that began what is now probably I'm a leader in the field, I'd say.
Can we just backpedal a little bit? Because you obviously had a good upbringing. You're bright. You're very, very bright. You became a solicitor. Yeah. Why?
Well, I did want to be a mermaid growing up, honestly. And then I decided I didn't like my head going underwater. So...
And you had two legs and not a tail. There's a bit of a thing there.
It was always my career plan to be a mermaid.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Until I was 6 or 7. And I came home from school one day and I said, Mummy, I want to be a lawyer.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That was it?
Yeah. I don't know where that came from.
No.
We must have talked about it at school, but I don't remember talking about it.
Yeah.
And she said, yes, you do. And thoroughly encouraged it.
Yeah.
And then I became obsessed.
Yeah.
So I would even sort of high school years, I would read cases and I didn't have a clue what any of it was about, but I would read them. When I got to sixth form, I'd go and sit in the courts on my free periods instead of, my friends would be shopping, smoking, doing whatever, boys.
Yeah.
I just wasn't interested. I was far too old for my years, I think. I had a very old head on my shoulders and wasn't really a typical teen.
So it's almost like you were destined to be a solicitor.
I was just obsessed.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you qualified.
Yeah.
And then you started to work in some pretty big law firm.
The biggest at the time.
Was
yeah.
it?
Yeah. It was the biggest firm in Manchester. Yeah. And I loved it.
Yeah. But I mentioned in the intro, part of your business now, your practice, Law by Sophie.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't get it much more done, really.
Clues in the name.
It's clues in the name. You felt that there was this disingenuous sort of statement of we care, we're on your side. You felt that wasn't clicking for you.
It really wasn't. I felt like there was a long period of time actually where I thought maybe I'm just not meant to be a lawyer.
Did you?
Yeah. It wasn't the law. It was the corporate environment that wasn't for me.
Why was that? I mean, we spoke about this ADHD.
I remember,
ADHD. So look, you latterly found out about that. So you didn't know about
ADHD.
That at the time.
Yeah, no, ADHD did play a big part in it all. I know that now. But I remember my boss, I literally remember this like it was yesterday. He took me into the boardroom and he said, I care too much. He said, a good lawyer doesn't care. So, and those words, I couldn't let go of them.
Let me just caveat that. That's one person's opinion, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
A lot of lawyers do.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Lawyers do care.
It didn't sit comfortably. Looking at and meeting with clients, knowing that they're struggling financially and then asking them for thousands and thousands of pounds on account when I didn't see why we have to charge for every single email in and out, every phone call, even if they don't answer. Why do I have to do that? Nothing was achieved in that time.
So you were feeling a bit frustrated.
Very frustrated.
Because you've got this dichotomy, haven't you? You've got this thing going on that, hey, look, I am a seriously good lawyer. I'm being told that I shouldn't actually care that much. That's what I'm being told.
And the focus is on billing. How much you can bill a month.
Yeah.
You need more, you need more, you need more.
Yeah.
And
what did you feel, Sophie, in that early part of your career was differentiating you? Aside from this personal thing that's going on, this internal battle of, I don't know whether I should, because that's not fitting well with me. But in the courtroom, representing your clients, what was differentiating you?
Nothing ever changed in terms of the service that I gave. I think it was internally having this battle about the corporate structure, but caring and doing, literally fighting till death for my clients has never changed. So I really took on their emotional burden. And I do view that as my job. I'm there to take their problems away as much as I can. Yeah. So if I can take that on, and litigation is extremely stressful. So if I can take that from you and try and guide you through it and hold your hand, then that's my job, is it not? That's what I always struggled with. Isn't
so you
that
set
what
up your
I'm
own
there to
practice. You set up your own practice, and this was really now. So you're now the master of your own destiny. And
no HR.
But you still have to comply. Kipper's HR.
Kipper's
you still have to
HR.
obviously comply to the standards that are laid down by the law society, by the governing bodies.
Yes.
But outside of the court, we mentioned it in the intro. You're very different. You're fun, you're gregarious, you're you're a little bit left field, you're a little bit unorthodox.
Yeah.
You say it like it is.
I do.
But then we spoke about this on the way in, and something which was very, very funny for us. We decided to, and you're going to see this, you're going to get some outtakes of this, some real behind the scenes, because Sophie was kind enough to pick me up to bring me into the studio today. We both live in the same area in Cheshire and in Knutsford. So we did a little bit of a, but we spoke about this, didn't we? So I was keen to understand how you almost change. Well, you do change. The Sophie that we're seeing now is the real Sophie. It's the authentic Sophie. We're going to talk about that. We've got lots of things to unpack in this time together. But you described it as putting on a mask.
Yeah.
When you walk into that courtroom, you are like, boom, I'm a dad. This is
playing a role.
Yeah, tell us about that, how that feels to you from Sophie, the person, which is always there. She's always there. But when she walks into the courtroom, you describe it as this mask comes on.
Yeah.
People have looked at you in the public gallery and gone, is that Sophie?
Yeah.
Because like you are like a fucking Rottweiler to start with. But you know your stuff. You know the law inside out. You're defending your clients heavily in some pretty serious cases at times, some very serious. Help us. What's going on there, Sophie?
I love getting to trial. And I think it's important to say very rarely does it get to a trial point, because hopefully we can sort things before it gets to that. But I love a trial. I actually thrive on it.
Do you?
So the mask is something that I've always talked about. It's like body armor.
Yeah.
So as soon as the gown goes on, or I always say that a lipstick is mightier than the sword. Right? That's whenever I do makeup, I always say that. You will be surprised. And honestly, we'll touch on this later, because I genuinely mean that, especially with when we talk about domestic violence. If you put a lipstick on a woman, the effect that has, the power that it gives you is unreal.
Wow.
And lipstick is just a prop almost. But when I'm going into a courtroom, as soon as that gown goes on or the suit comes out, whatever it may be, I'm there to play a role, and my job is to get what's best for my client.
Wow.
So it's not there to be Sophie and talk about all the things that are important in Sophie's life. My job is to fight.
It's that laser focus. It just sort of woof, there's nothing else going on.
Yeah. And so actually all that the suit is, which I hate, I would love it if I could do it in my gym kit. I would. We will get there one day.
One day.
I'm changing it. We are going to do trials in gym kits.
Trials in gym kits,
Baseball caps.
And, when you meet clients, you speak about this, that's what they get. Sometimes you're in your jodhpers. Sometimes, you do. Yeah. It's the real deal, because you're a real person.
Yeah, I always say.
But again, there's this professional, there's this.
I don't need to be in a suit to be a good lawyer, and that's something I am very passionate about, because whenever anybody thinks about a stereotypical lawyer, I can guarantee they'll say they'll be in a suit, they might be in a boardroom, and it's going to cost them a fortune.
Yeah,
they're all things that I am on a mission to break that stigma.
Good for you.
So the thing that I say is, you get me as I am.
Yeah.
I will be in a gym kit or jodhpers.
Yeah.
Probably with straw in my hair. And you sit down, we'll have a slice of cake, cup of tea, tell me what the problem is, and I'll tell you how I can help. Yeah. That's what I want it to always be.
Awesome. So you mentioned ADHD. Yeah, I've mentioned it as well. You describe it as your superpower.
It is my superpower.
And I want you to just unpack that a little bit for us. Just tell us about ADHD. How did it come about? And how long ago was it that you discovered that you are actually, you do have ADHD? I mean, I've sat with you privately away from this studio, and this Sophie's brain is so, it's just so quick, but it does skip sometimes, doesn't it?
Massively. Yeah.
But you describe it as your superpower. So how did you find out? Where was the point? And why did you describe it as your superpower?
So I always knew I was a bit different, but I quite like being different.
Yeah, me too.
So I didn't think that was anything different. If I'm pressing that red button, if you tell me not to press the red button and put me in a route, I'm pressing it,
Because you want to know why.
Yeah, why
been told
can't
not to press the red
if
button.
you tell me no, I'm going to do it. So 3 years ago, I was out for dinner with friends, and I was probably doing 10 things at once, or talking or oversharing, or or I was probably late, all ADHD stereotypical things. So my friend said to me, he said, you've got ADHD, don't you? And I was like, what's that? And he got on his phone, he did the test, the NHS test online, and it's 20 questions. Yep. I got 23 because I made 3 of my own up because I didn't feel it covered everything. So I got 23 out of 20. Yeah. And I was like, so did I pass? And actually what it meant was, if you got more than 5, you are on the beginnings of ADHD. I'd given myself more questions and answers.
Yeah.
And gone way over, but in my head it was still, do I get a gold star? What does that mean?
You didn't feel then, because some people feel, oh no, I'm ADHD. Oh my God, that's so bad. This means I can't do this. I can't do that. You see it as a superpower.
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. I think actually so attention deficit. I don't actually agree with. I think it's just a label we give, isn't it? But that's not the case. We've got too much energy.
Yeah.
And once you learn what it is and how to manage it, things click. So when you're doing things, you go, oh, ADHD. And it makes sense instead of going, why am I like this? Why do I do these things?
Yeah. And what we spoke about off air, Sophie, which I thought was brilliant. You said, a stereotypical person who doesn't have ADHD may have a task that they're looking at, which is going to take 5 hours. Somebody with ADHD can look at that task and they'll go, yeah, I get it. It's going to take me 5 hours. They'll go and put the washing on, have a coffee, do whatever. Yeah. But then they'll suddenly, or at least, it's a generalization. So let's keep this to you. You have this ability to look at that 5 hours and probably waste 2.5. In reality.
Absolutely. But in my head, it'll be on something super important.
But yeah. When it comes down to that final 2.5, the focus is
hyper-focus.
Hyper-focus. I love that.
Hyper-focus.
So you drill down.
I will do a week's worth of work in a day.
Yeah.
If I hyper-focus.
Yeah.
But the problem is you don't know when that hyper-focus is going to come. So when it does come, you've got to really do some special things with it because you don't know when it'll happen again.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You see that as your superpower. And I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do. I know what you accomplish because we mentioned it in the head and we'll talk to this more at the end, but you're not just a lawyer. And it sounds bad when I say that. You are a lawyer with your own practice. You represent some big cases. Your win rate's really successful. You're the real deal. But then you've got 2 other businesses. You've got 3 horses. You've got a dog. You've got your partner. You've got your family. You've got a lot. You've got your social life. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I often hear this argument. Oh, I can't. I'd love to help you, but I'm just so busy. I've got so much going on. Maybe because of your ADHD, I'm just going to, suggest. It helps you to accomplish so many things.
Of course it does. It's nice that you say all of those things, but there's more to come. So I don't see it as like, let's stop there. I constantly have ideas, but those ideas will happen. So I will do more. It won't be a case of doing less.
Wow.
And I will do it because you've told me I can't, so I'll do it.
Prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Your life took a awful turn when a relationship turned sour. I've already given you listeners a heads up on this. We're now going to dive into part of Sophie's life, which she feels, I'm going to say, comfortable to share this today. I'm brave enough. I'm going to use that terminology because this is a piece now where I found this incredibly difficult to listen to when Sophie shared this with me.
Don't you get emotional?
I do get emotional occasionally, and this is one of those points. Sophie, help us just, in your own words, walk us through a piece of your life which you have evolved through the pain points. You've done a lot of healing, a lot of therapy. Please help us with this. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to sit here and just be quiet because it really affects me when I hear this.
Bless you. So it's kind because, and I don't know how I'm going to react because this is the first time I've shared with the world, not even my family. So I don't know where this will go, but my career had just begun. I was a newly qualified solicitor. I just launched the Equine Law by Sophie stuff. Everything was tickety-boo. Life was clicking, or thought it was clicking. And sort of going down the road relationship-wise that every girl, I suppose, thinks is going to be right. So I was in a relationship that, looking back, probably wasn't as right as what I thought it was, but with nothing to compare it to. How do you know those things? So hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it? But I thought I was happy. Thought I think I was.
Mm.
And I was with my partner for a long time. No problems at all. No signs of jealousy or violence, control, nothing like that. And you know me well enough now, if you try and control me, it's not going to go down well. So I didn't see any signs of that. And because there wasn't, but one of the things that he didn't do is drink. So he never drank, but he always told me that was because he didn't like the taste. He was too busy. It didn't interest him. But that wasn't the case. He actually had a big problem with alcohol that nobody thought appropriate to tell me about. And I was pregnant with a little boy called Ashley, 5.5 months pregnant. And there's no such thing as morning sickness. Well, definitely wasn't a glowing pregnant mummy to be, far from it. I was so ill. If anything touched my tummy, I would just be sick. And so we had an event that we had to go to, and I just couldn't make it. I couldn't get any clothes on. So he went without me.
Sure. And
I don't know, for whatever reason on that day, he decided to pick up a drink, not just a drink. He drank a bottle of vodka like it was water, and much, much more. Came home, and when I say there was the evil in his eyes, I truly mean that. It's like he wasn't there. And he attacked me to the point where I thought I was dead. But he stabbed me in my tummy and I went into labour. And it was about 3 hours of a very violent attack.
Pause if you want to, Sophie. There's some tissues
there.
Sophie's sharing this with us now, and she has had deep therapy. It's painful what she's telling us now. This I can't even call him a man. I'm sorry. This thug, this devil now possessed inside him through alcohol. He beats her to a pulp. Her retina was shattered. He smashed her head against the wall, and then he stabbed her with a knife in her stomach, knowing that their child was there. Sophie, please take your time. Share what you can. If you want us to move on, we can move on.
No, we're going to do this. I thought it was dead. I was in labour. Ashley was born and he lived for 2 days. And then passed away. And then he was sentenced to 18 months in prison. That's what my son's life was calculated at. To which he did 9 months. And in that time, I had to work out what had happened. I don't think I didn't deal with the grief. I didn't deal with it at all. Far from it. I had very bad, severe PTSD, panic attacks.
Yeah.
Couldn't leave the house. I had to move away. But what happened was, he went to prison, and actually all that time did was make it worse. So it wasn't a time for reflection and remorse. Far from it. I was to blame for him being there. It was my fault.
That's what he felt.
Yeah.
We know that wasn't the case.
So actually all that happened was that when he came out 9 months later, the attacks continued. I was hospitalised frequently with some really bad attacks. I was sent death threats, acid attack threats. He would leave notes just he'd know where the cameras would reach to. He'd leave things. He'd put knives through my letterbox.
He sent pictures of your bedroom light.
Yeah.
Through
with
the
me
post.
on my own.
saying, I know you're on your own. And,
Sleep well.
yeah. I mean, this is intimidation. This is, this is off the scale of just being absolutely warped. I'm not going to defend this guy. I don't know him at all, but this is horrendous. And to actually be on the receiving end of that, Sophie, it must have been just shattering. You must have felt continuously anxious, fearful of leaving your own home, knowing that this bastard is just preying on you.
If I'm honest, because I'd not dealt with the grief of losing my son, every attack, and I'm just being very honest with you, every attack I just hoped was the time that I was going to die. I genuinely mean that. I just wanted it to stop. So I just wanted that to be the time that it would stop hurting and that I could be with my son.
I understand because, you're in this place now where you're being mentally tortured, physically tortured. Your son's gone, and for you at that time, the best place that you felt you could be is not here with your son in heaven or whatever your spiritual beliefs are.
Yeah.
It's horrendous to listen to. It's hard to listen to, Sophie. I'm so sorry that you went through that. I'm so sorry. And nothing can ever sort of, bring back your son. Nothing can ever stop what happened to you. But we see you here today, despite how you've just emotionally expressed how you feel, because that's flooding back. It's flooding back right now in this studio. And, I'm also emotional. The people the other side of this camera are emotional. How do you start to heal, Sophie?
I didn't for a long time. I think that's important to say. I didn't. I actually spiraled beyond belief. I put myself in some very stupid situations, in fact, and became very poorly.
Do you think it was like you were breaking down?
Yeah.
You're emotionally crushed.
Yeah.
You're physically
paralyzed with fear.
Yeah, paralyzed with fear, and you're just like you now. What I'm hearing is it became almost a self-destruct.
It was
mission.
Yeah, it was.
It was like the
red button got hit. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, massively. I did spiral, and actually, I always try and look for good in every situation, and what the good that has come is that it has made me a better person. So before all of this, I was probably a little bit green. I had mental health wasn't something I had any prior knowledge of. I didn't get it. I was probably going to be that idiot that would say, "What have you got to be upset about?"
Right. Wow.
And so actually, it's made me.
It's raised your awareness. It's given you more compassion and understanding. You've had to do some deep work. On yourself.
And that wasn't my doing. I actually have to thank my friend for that. So I was at my friend's house. She lives in the middle of nowhere. I was sat in the kitchen with her. I'd not told anyone about this attack. I think that's important to say.
Yeah.
None of my friends knew any of this. My family didn't know.
No.
My friends didn't know.
So
I was battling this on my own.
All of this happening to you, you're on your own.
They thought I'd just lost my son. They didn't know under what circumstances.
Fuck.
And nobody knew what was going on. Every time I was in hospital, it was always some other excuse.
Can I come back to this mask thing? Where you mentioned earlier on that when you go into a court, you wear a mask. You obviously, part of your personality is that you're able to.
You won't know if something's wrong with me. No.
So in this time, you're effectively putting another mask on.
Yeah.
Which is to not let other people know how much pain you are in and suffering.
It's where the makeup came from. So I became a makeup artist during that journey.
Did you?
Because I would put on the mask and then became obsessed with how makeup could cover things.
Wow.
And could make me look a different way.
Right. So let's go back to this piece where you're in your friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we're sat in the kitchen, chatting away. We just had some dinner. I'd not seen a car come up the drive. but it was an Amazon delivery man. It was winter,
Okay.
so it was dark.
I wondered what you were going to say then.
And a man just appeared at the window
Right.
to drop. All he did was pop the package down.
Oh, God. Right.
I had a massive panic attack. Couldn't jumped out of my skin.
Oh, God.
Couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Thought I was going to die. Thought my chest was, it was horrible.
Wow.
And it was actually then that my friend said, "Are you going to tell me what's going on?" And I've got her to thank for what was the start of me getting help, because
your healing journey.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have asked for help.
Wow.
So she is to thank, to the point where I don't need help, you know.
Were you really?
Yeah.
So I was happy.
Yeah.
Because there's a few things here, you know, and we must really just you know, acknowledge you've lost your son.
Yeah.
So you've not grieved properly.
No.
You know, and
I got rid of everything. I got rid of all of his stuff.
Yeah, and then you've got your own personal abuse that's coming to you. You're not dealing with that. So thank goodness. You know, as daft as it sounds, thank goodness for the Amazon man. You know,
she booked an appointment and drove me there.
Fuck, what a friend. What a friend.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have gone. Even if she booked it, I wouldn't have gone. So she booked it. She turned up. She put me in the car and she took me. And even walking in there, I remember sitting there saying, "I won't need the full hour." I was there 2.5 hours.
God, bloody hell.
Yeah, and my therapist is a lady called Ian Beighton. She saved my life. She rebuilt me. It was like learning to walk again.
Gosh.
And I am now the biggest advocate of therapy, meditations, hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
Because it is so important.
Yeah.
And I learned so much about how trauma affects the body, affects the brain.
Wow.
And how trauma lives inside you, and ways that we can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where I started.
You've done, and that's been a continuous journey, you know, and even today, you still have these sessions because, you know, it's not, I mean, it's horrific what you went through. It's absolutely horrific. You are a different person now.
Yeah. Better person.
A better person. They're your words. Yeah. We are in the studio, and, you know, listeners, I know I've already mentioned this once. Behind these cameras is your current partner. How did you come to the point where you felt okay to even contemplate trusting another man? You'll miss that then if you're just listening to this, because Sophie has just glanced over the studio at her partner, and they're both smiling lovingly at each other, which is beautiful to see. But how do you come to that point, Sophie? What has to happen in Sophie's world? Because this is about you.
Yeah.
But for anybody listening to this, what advice would you give to them? Firstly, coming out of that freaking, I can't even get my head around it.
Trauma.
That incident, those incidents. What would you suggest to people that maybe find themselves in the throes of domestic abuse or coming out of it? Is there things that you would suggest to them? I mean, you're probably going to say therapy.
In the thick of it, it's the very last thing on your mind. You know, and actually until recently when I met my partner, my friends were actually on a mission to make me go out because it was I was just happy on my own, to be honest.
No, I get you.
But I was getting dangerously happy on my own. So, you know, my life was...
with your pets and your horses and your...
Me and Kipper. It was me and Kipper. You know, and a Twister lolly every night in bed. That's my little life, you know. And with my horses, my animals, I think I wasn't looking.
And your career.
There. Yeah, everything was.
So it was all absorbed in this.
It was the by Sophie brand. It wasn't by Sophie and someone else. It just wasn't part of my plan.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I'd not actually even talked about it in therapy. That finding love again wasn't on the agenda.
Wow.
So I'd be rubbish at giving advice if I'm honest. But I think how it happened was we were friends for a long time before, so I already felt safe. so then when it turned into something more than friends, I already had done
Sure.
I already knew him. So
You kind of get
it wasn't the nerves that you'd have for maybe a first date on an online app where, you know, that just gives me anxiety even thinking about doing something like that.
Yeah,
meeting someone you don't know.
No,
yeah,
you
I just
don't.
couldn't
Swipe
do it.
left, swipe right. You know, it's so
couldn't do
superficial.
it.
You've got no idea.
No.
You know, and there's some real shit stories out there. You know, it's not that person, the married.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck,
and you know my look, I'm meeting the murderer and my body's on the M6 somewhere. So I'm not doing that. But my friends were worried.
So for you, it was this slow journey and you know, and as you say, you know, and thank you for that. You know, you're not going to give direct advice because we're all individuals and everybody's got to find their own way, haven't they?
I think when it did happen and I talked to my therapist about it, it's not the most romantic, is it? Saying, do you want to go on a date? Oh yeah, by the way, I got beaten to a pulp and I lost my son. You know, it's quite a lot for someone to take on.
It is. It is.
And I try and make that as easy as possible. But I think you've got to set boundaries and in what is important to you. And if somebody doesn't fit in those boundaries, then you have to be very firm in not allowing them any further into your life.
I agree. I agree.
If it's right and you're aligned, then isn't love a beautiful thing?
It just is. It just is. So in the midst of all of this, you've set up your own firm, your own practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is going beyond your own expectations, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's rocketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says a lot about you, of course. It says a lot about the clients that you work with. You are selective. You don't just take anybody as a client, you know, but if there's a case there that needs resolving, Sophie's your best ally.
Yeah.
You know, you'd rather have this woman in your corner than against you, I can assure you. So, you know,
especially if I'm hungry. Something special.
So what drove you to setting up your own practice? We talked about this earlier, about this frustration with the corporates and everything else, but surely, I mean, you're quite fearless as a person.
I am.
You know, but was there any reservations about, oh gosh, it's just me now, I've got to get the clients? No,
getting clients was always easy because what you see is what you get. I am real. So going out and getting clients and speaking to people was something I found very, very easy, very natural.
Yeah.
Whilst I was in the large corporates, there was a lot of bullshit, a lot of green-eyed monsters. And if I'm honest, I hate to say it, but the women were the worst.
Wow.
So as my career progressed, there'd be all kinds of sneaky things going on and loads of backstabbing and jealousy. And I'm not about that. No. I just, come on, let's all. Yeah, I'm not about that.
Yeah, let's crack on.
And I found it very hard to know how to deal with it. I was always in trouble with HR because I am quite outspoken. If I don't think something's right or fair, I'm going to say. Yeah. I'm not afraid to. I'm no shrinking violet, and I'm certainly not going to sit there quietly, regardless of whether it's going to get me a promotion or not. I don't give a shit. Yeah. And I can't.
You can't hide that.
No, I can't.
You can't hide being your authentic self.
No, and I don't give a shit about whether signature strips. What the hell are signature strips? Are you a solicitor, associate, senior associate, partner, director? I don't care who you are, as long as you're going to help me. So everyone was so driven by what your signature strip said.
Was it?
Yeah. Why do I care?
Why do you care?
Am I doing the job? Even to this day, regardless of what I'm a partner, I'm a founder, I've been everything. My signature strip says solicitor because that's what I am.
I love that.
So
I love that. So it seemed the natural thing then, didn't it?
Yeah.
To be in control of your own destiny.
Time to change.
To have your own destiny. You decide, and you are incredibly hardworking. You've carved this niche, which is in equine disputes.
Yeah.
Why did that come about? How did that come about?
It was because I would always see disputes arise when I was at shows or at events, and I'd see disputes.
Right.
And I decided to make a Facebook page, Equine Law by Sophie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I thought, let's just see. Then I got a call from Cheshire Life magazine.
Ah, there you go.
Who'd seen it and word had started to pick up. I was a newly qualified solicitor at this point, green as the come. Cheshire Life rang me and they said, could we do a photo shoot with you and your horse? And I was like, yeah, sure. They said that they were doing an equine special and could they ask me a few questions? Yeah, no problem. So they came along to the yard. I thought, I better put my posh jumpers on. They wouldn't even do up. So I remember using my hair bubble to do my jumpers up and my show jacket. And I was like, breathe in on my horse. And the irony of that is I got 2 offers to be a jumper model. And I was like, if only you knew, I couldn't do them up.
Underneath my show coat.
I had a hair bubble wrapped around my button. So that just made me giggle. So anyway, I didn't realise it was going to be as big as it was. They put me on the front cover and a 3-page spread.
Really?
Yeah, with this massive editorial.
You just blew up.
Huge. That was massive in what was the start of Equine Law by Sophie.
Yeah, and I just want to, your firm is called Law by Sophie.
Yeah.
Just for everybody's benefit here, who's listening to this, who's thinking, well, she just does awkward equine then. No, you don't, do you?
No.
You've got lots of disciplines.
Yeah.
It's all around litigation.
Pretty much. I do corporate as well. So corporate stuff,
debt recovery.
Yeah. Corporate and commercial litigation. So any dispute or the corporate stuff. I do a lot of company sales. I've got some exciting company sales going through at the moment.
There you go.
Everyone, starting a business is going to need some kind of terms and conditions or shareholder agreements or something to protect their little venture. And that's what I love seeing.
Yeah.
Companies start or finish or anything in between. I just love seeing success.
You also have other businesses. You've got Mofi by Sophie. I love that name. You've got Makeup by Sophie. There's always the Sophie piece in there.
Oh yeah, and many more to come.
And many more to come. And what I love about our chats, outside the studio, Sophie, and here today is, people are getting a feel for you now. They're realizing how authentic you are. But I listen to so many people. And it is a bit of a bugbear about from mine, and people get this. They're like, here he goes again. Like, I haven't got time. I'm just so busy. It's almost like we're championing. It's becoming a badge of honor. Sophie, are you busy? Oh, I know I'm really busy. I know I'm busier than you. No, you just don't know how busy I am. And you've got, as we said, you've got your horses, your dog, your business, these 2 other businesses. Your relationship with your partner who's here today, you've got a lot going on, yet you're like sitting there saying to me, hang on a minute, it's not really, it's okay, I can manage that. Yeah. And actually I'm going to do much, much more.
Totally. 100%.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think for me, again, it's the ADHD, because when I sit still, there is too much noise.
Too much like internal chatter. So like, do this.
Yeah.
But when you've got a lot going on.
When I'm 100 miles an hour, that's when I'm best. That's when I'm calmest, weirdly.
Wow.
If I have a million things to do or a big deadline and I'm under a lot of pressure, if I have to file something at 4:00, it's 5 to 4 and I'm like, sweet.
So you love it.
I love it.
You love it.
Yeah. I'm calmest.
Sophie's in her, go on.
I'm calmest when I'm 100 miles an hour. If you give me a day off, I don't know I can't have one for starters, but I don't know what to do with myself. Wow. And I'm learning, or rather I'm being taught how to calm down.
and again, just for those of you listening, Sophie glanced over and at the other side of her loving partner is in the studio with her. She glanced over at him because I'm hearing that he's like the yin to your yang.
He is.
You're like this, zoom, let's go, whoa, 100 miles an hour. Yeah. And your partner, whose name we're not mentioning for obvious reasons.
I think he just goes with it,
He goes with it, but he also
humors my ideas.
Humours you, but also does keep you a little bit grounded.
He's so supportive that I decided I wanted to fly a plane recently.
Yeah.
And he came along and supported me. Yeah. And I just think God, he
Yeah.
just must think I'm nuts.
Yeah.
But
Isn't it right, though, with the right people in our lives? So whether that be in business, whether that be our friendship groups, whether that be your
Yeah.
friend there, taking
Yeah.
you to therapy.
Yeah.
I think, you've got to be a bit selective sometimes in life
Yeah,
about
you do.
who's closest in, I call it my inner circle. Yeah.
Mm.
If we imagine a dartboard, the bullseye, that's my inner circle. The outer circle is all these peripheral things. There might be
Yeah.
acquaintances, people who dip in and out of my life. But in that inner circle, isn't it, do you agree, Sophie, that your choices in that inner circle are so critical?
Yeah.
Because it can be great or it can be fucking destructive. Yeah?
Absolutely.
And you've learned this,
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. I thought of this. I didn't tell you this. You might like this. You might think, well, shut
Love
up, Ian.
ideas.
You
Go
might
on.
think, shut up, Ian. You've heard of the SAS, haven't you?
Yeah.
So their acronym is SAS.
Yeah.
I think yours is SSSS. And it stands for Successful, Sassy, Solicitor, Sophie.
Oh my God, I love it.
Do you like it?
I love
Do you
it.
like it? That came to me about 12:30 in the...
Stop it.
Yeah, seriously. I woke up and wrote it on my little thing on the side of my bed. Yeah, seriously. So, but you do other things.
My little brain's going here.
Oh, you're off with
now
one.
I'm thinking
Oh,
of
no. Oh, here we go. You want to build a brand around that. So you do work with charity.
Yeah.
There's a charity very close to your heart.
Many, actually.
Many.
Yeah.
But you do work to fundraise for charities. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I do a lot with the homeless, actually.
Right.
And I have done since I was 19 when I first moved to Manchester at 19.
Wow.
I'd never seen a homeless man before.
Yep.
That then I spend every Christmas day on the streets. I
Yep.
feed them as often as I can. I've
Yep.
got 4 now into housing and I do that all on my own.
Yep.
I don't do that with a charity, but that is something very close to my heart.
Yep.
But the Genie's Wish is a charity who I support.
Yep.
And who know my past of losing a child.
Yeah.
So for me as a parent,
yeah,
knowing what it's like, knowing that you're going to lose your child. And I only had 2 days with my son. And I these parents don't know that their life is going to be cut short, and I don't think any parent should have to bury their child.
No, I don't.
So it is close to my heart.
So you do a lot of fundraising for them.
I do. I jumped out of a plane last weekend for them.
Here we go. It's a whole other story. We're going to come back and do another episode with Sophie. We are. I promise you that. But we're going to put a link to these charities in the footnotes of this episode, and you're doing some great work there, Sophie.
Yeah.
I need to ask you this, where, I don't know how long we've got to answer this. Where is your future? Where would you like it to start to go? And what do you see? What do you already see in your, let's say in your professional life, but then also for Sophie as a person, what's going on? What do you see? What are you envisaging? What do you want to happen? What will happen?
So much more. So I have my vision board.
Do you?
Yeah. And on my vision board is, so for my businesses, my makeup brand.
Yep.
I'm launching something this summer, actually.
Ooh.
So more makeup.
Keep your eye on Sophie's. Yeah, we go.
I'm also launching a beauty college.
Oh my God.
Where people can train using my products.
Wow.
So they can create their own mask. So the college is coming hopefully this year. So that's Mophie and Makeup by Sophie. More products, and a beauty college is being launched. Law by Sophie. I want to get law. It was never the plan, but it now is. It was just me and Kipper. Now the plan is I need help. So but it's got to be with the right sort of people. It's got to be lawyers that are just like me.
Yeah, they've got to be aligned with your ethics,
100%.
your practice, everything else.
Yeah.
It's got to be, whilst there need to be individuals, it's got to be aligned with what you set out to become and are, and what you've modelled your business model.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
So that's not easy, is it?
No,
because,
it's not.
Finding the right people is not easy. But
no,
so basically, you're going to expand out.
We're growing.
You're going to have a team.
Yeah, we're growing,
That's
and there's
awesome.
some really exciting opportunities coming there. But
Yep.
I have also started my journey to become a judge. So that is a 2-year process.
Wow.
So Judge Sophie coming soon.
Imagine that. Can you imagine it? I don't know whether they'll let you gym gear and your jodhpurs.
I'll make it a law.
I'll make it a law. Sophie, I've really enjoyed this time today with you.
I've really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, thank you for...
I've gone through every emotion.
You have, that raw emotion as well. And you know, thank you. I feel extremely privileged. This is a first for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, this is a first. You know, we'll talk off air about how that felt and everything else. But how can people find you? How can people work with you or present their cases to you for consideration of you representing them? What's the best way?
Ring me.
No,
Ring
I know. We're not going to give your mobile number out on air because because there is going to be people who will abuse.
I'm very active on social media.
Okay. You got a website for your law firm?
I've got a website, yeah, but I'm very active on social media. So
Okay.
I think social media is a really useful tool, actually. So probably the best way to find me and see what I'm up to and follow my journey is social media.
All right, okay. And again, we're probably going to put all the links there.
Yeah.
All right, let's draw this episode, this fantastic episode, with the one and only Sophie Murgatroyd. As I said, the successful, sassy solicitor, Sophie.
I love that.
You like it? It's
I
good,
love
isn't
it.
What's your final thought?
You've just worn me out. I never thought
you
that
said
would
you're
happen.
a million miles an hour. You can just go. Come on.
Get me a Red Bull and like go again. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I was quite apprehensive and I didn't know what emotion was going to come up telling my story.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful to you and you've made me feel totally at ease and I'm just eager to get going now. You've just given me energy to go and be me.
Yeah. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure, my honour. Thank you so much. You are just an incredible woman. And I genuinely, I'm thankful to all my guests, but this one's a little bit special. Thank you.
Thank you.